Hi there, it's Michael Greenwood, and today we've got April Birch, and I'll let April tell you what she does. Hi, April. Welcome to the
Hiya.
show.
I'm a personal trainer. I have been for over 20 years, and I'm also a doTERRA wellness advocate, and I've done that for the past 10 years in combination with my personal training. So basically, I support people, and there are some specific things that I love to help people with, like digestion, overall stress management. But I really love to help families in particular that have children. Basically, I want to marry up the natural world with the medical world and help support people with health issues and things that they've got going on. But I also really like to help women get strong in the PT kind of side of things, just to support. I guess one of the things that I love about the exercise side of things is that exercise is a natural antidepressant. So I really love the fact that we can do something ourselves to help ourselves and not just be stuck in this, you know, victim mindset. I don't even know if that's the right word, but do you know what I mean? I want us to be able to be empowered to just help ourselves as much as possible before then, some people without doubt would need help from doctors. But before all of that, I want people to get a grip of their own health.
Yeah, it is victim mindset,
Is
isn't
that
it?
the
I
right
mean,
word?
yeah, just thinking back to doing my A level in psychology, internal locus of control. So locus, not locus, versus external locus of control.
Yeah. It's like act instead of be acted upon. I've heard it said like that before as well. Instead of, oh, I've got this now and I've got this now. Okay, but what can you do still? I would love more people to think like that than we can't help ourselves, I'm too poorly, or I haven't got the motivation today. I think there's a way through for people, and I feel like the Western world has become a bit more. It's okay. I'll just go to the doctor and I'll get something. Mind or body. I think it's all under one umbrella, and that's all well and good if that's going to help you get back to your optimum. I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves. Is it, or is it just going to keep you exactly where you are?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think as human beings, we're here to well express ourselves and expand from just being not stagnating really, aren't we? So yeah, and I think I always talk about Viktor Frankl, where he's got that. You as human beings, we've got that benefit between stimulus and response for actually decision making, and we're quite unique on this planet in terms of creatures on this planet in terms of that. So Viktor Frankl didn't let anybody change his mind, basically. So what first inspired you to explore natural healthcare and essential oils as well? Because doTERRA is essential oils, isn't it?
The essential oils, yeah, and they've branched out into like nutritional supplements and like health care products or what's the word, skincare, that kind of thing. So it's all like a holistic care, but they initially began essential oils. So the reason that I explored that was I didn't have any other options. I'd run out of things I could do. So I have a child. I have two, but at the time I had a child that was profoundly disabled, has cystic fibrosis. My little boy also has cystic fibrosis, but he came along a few years later. And I guess coming from a fitness background and sport background, I loved sports at school. Played badminton for school, volleyball for school. I was good at football, high jump, athletics. I was extremely into moving my body, being competitive where possible. And so I had a bit of a can do, that I want to do it, so I'm just going to do it attitude. So when we had Lauren and all of these health complications came along with it, we got sucked into this, listening to the doctors about absolutely everything, which is a good thing because I'd not come across cystic fibrosis before. But by the time she was like 5.5, I felt deflated. Every time she got something that was kind of a typical illness that you or I might get, there just wasn't an answer. And I felt like life was already a little bit unfair. And she was already dealing with everything she was dealing with and taking medications and medicines for things that she needed because otherwise her body would have given up. So that was all well and good, but then I don't want to pump more medications into her for, she's got a bit of flu. Oh my gosh, like what the heck is out there? And I remember having a conversation with my husband and I said to him, there's got to be more that we can do. Like, I am sick of this. I don't want to give her paracetamol and I don't want to give her ibuprofen because it seems to be the only answer we ever get off anybody. And I'm sick of it. There has to be more. And so we started to look into different things. We would exercise a little bit more. We got her a bike. We'd try to do... It was obviously a big disabled bike. It wasn't like she was coming for a 5k cycle or anything. But I wanted to do whatever I could. And it was at that moment, it was probably about 6 months after I said that my friend messaged me and said, have you tried essential oils? And I said, nope. What are they? Send me some. So she did, and it began the journey of natural.
So, obviously, that's the personal experience, isn't it? That led you to get into essential oils and like natural healthcare, or would you say? Do you call it alternative medicine?
So many people call it different things. I'm not sure what's compliant and what's not compliant. I have to be careful, but I think it's alternative therapies. I don't know, natural solutions, probably the best words. Which is interesting because once upon a time that would have been the only medicine the world had. So modern medicine is obviously very modern.
So how do you... Can you unpack the kind of discovery process, or the way that you do you use the word diagnose, or is that more like a medical thing? How do you actually fit a solution to a problem for a client?
I have to be careful. So basically, we've got to be very compliant with how we teach about and share the natural world, because there are people involved that big pharma, right? So we don't treat, we don't prevent, we don't cure. I definitely don't diagnose. I'm not a doctor. So what I do is I basically am an answer to people like myself. So I then said to my friend, I need things for this. I need things to support respiratory. We have digestive problems. We have chest issues quite a lot. What do you have? She sent me some samples. And basically that is how, when I network or when I share what I do, people come to me with things that they've not been able to get an answer from perhaps the medical side of it. So I integrate as much as possible. We obviously integrate them both here. We integrate essential oils, supplements, and from that we met. So I went out into this holistic world and I met a chiropractor. We integrate chiropractic care into our care for our children and ourselves. Like, it doesn't just stop, I don't think, once you start to enter that world. It's the essential oils are one string to the bow, right? So if someone came to me and said, I've got horrendous digestive issues, I've had it checked, it's nothing, then okay, we've got things you can do for your gut health. Do you exercise? You probably should. I can help. I can write you a little program. If you're close, you can come and have a session. Do you drink enough water? Can I just do a quick holistic look at you? And whilst I can't diagnose you, I can probably give you some pointers in the right direction. And then I can hopefully help them. And what you find is the people that are open to these natural things are people that were in my position, not necessarily with a child with cystic fibrosis, not necessarily with a disabled kid, but it could be, someone that's walking around on joints that are grinding against each other and that pain is just horrendous, but nothing has helped. I might have something that can support that pain, soothe it a little bit, on the go. So I think you have to be looking for it and you have to be proactive, because if I'm approaching you and you're not interested in helping yourself at all, you won't do it. That's fine. That's not my client.
That's interesting, because sometimes, just talking from personal experience, so this is going to be, quick caveat, this is completely anecdotal. So I've been to the doctors, and, obviously many times in my life. I did go through a phase where I didn't go for years and years, but as I've got older, I've, with age comes certain things crop up and everything. And a few times the doctor, different doctors as well, they said, what's your level of education? So they know how to kind of speak to me and all that kind of thing. And I sometimes feel that there'll be almost like a doctor, a GP in particular, might look at somebody and say, well, you're never going to drink enough water, or you're never going to exercise. And they might just make, a face value, some like an analysis of them and say, I'll give you this pill and I'll try this one. Do you feel that becomes, there's almost seems to be some go-to pills rather than actually getting somebody to change the lifestyle? It's almost like the path of least resistance is giving them the pill rather than education about, you should drink more water, get to bed on a night, and this and this, and actually get to the root cause, which were going to be my next question. How do you actually get to that root cause and cause with people?
I think that's the wonderful thing, isn't it? We have a choice, and if your choice is to go to the doctor, you want a pill, they're going to assess you within 10 minutes. I remember seeing a doctor a few years ago about something, and he said, nothing is really concerning me, and my problem is I've only got 10 minutes to decide, and we don't have time to get to the root cause of this. Whatever it is, it's not life-threatening. No, he was very honest with me, and I was like, okay. So I won't come back to you again for this, because it's clearly something I can do for myself once I try and figure out what it is. So you can go to the doctor, you can trust doctors. On a whole, I struggle because I trust the doctors around my children, because that's life, like literally saving medicines that they deal with. And I feel like in that niche little, if you're in a clinic of some sort, whether it be for diabetes, whether it be for cystic fibrosis or whatever, they've got such expertise. I wholly trust them. I still combat them on some things when I don't want to use a medication or whatever with my kids. And I don't just take everything they say. And that's wonderful. I think that works when perhaps I've had a really bad chest infection myself. Can't get rid of it myself. I've got 2 kids to look after. I've literally got nothing in me to go and take a 10-day retreat to try and heal myself. I've not got any kind of resources in that manner. So I go to the doctor and I might end up with some antibiotics. Wonderful. But then long term, let's figure out long term. If you consistently, the same things coming up over and over again, and you're going to the doctor and they're giving you a pill, are you healing? Or are you masking something? Because it feels to me like most people are masking because the doctor's gone, take this. I'm sorry, but doctors are just human. I can go and learn all the things a doctor learns, but I still have my own experience from life, and I'm going to look at those patients from my experience in life. And some of those doctors are a little callous and don't really care. They're just doing a job, just want to earn the money. That is how it is. I've met some of those doctors. Others say, you're obviously a little bit overweight, or you're a little bit underweight, this is happening, you've had these issues. And you do get those doctors, you honestly do, that care. They're few and far between. That's my experience. And so when it comes to people that are looking for something natural, I listen, firstly, because what you might come to me, Michael, and say, I've got this horrible reflux, just will not go away. I instantly have something that can help the reflux, but is something causing that reflux? Is it your lifestyle? Are you eating at 10 o'clock at night and then going to bed straight away? Because that's probably a really daft thing to do, but do you know that it's something daft to do? Not unless someone's told you. And so you're constantly listening, and I learnt it when I was doing fitness instructing in a gym. You're constantly listening, and you're picking up on things that perhaps they don't know that they're telling you. And that's a skill, that's a listening skill, because if I can say to them, you know what, I've got something for that, but why don't you try this as well? And these are my tips for life, if I can give you them, and how to live daily. Not necessarily what to eat, that's your choice, but if you're telling me every time, oh, I go to the Indian and my heartburn just gets horrendous, you probably should avoid spicy foods. I don't know if it's occurred to you. And you're listening, but a doctor would never do that. That's just a tiny little anecdotal, example, but a doctor doesn't necessarily have the time to do that. The country's kind of broken. It's not the people, it's the system. And the contrast to that, what I was saying initially was, I take my children to their clinic and the doctors are listening to all those tiny little things. It's not a 10-minute appointment. It can be 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on who you're seeing. And they're listening to every single tiny detail. And then they're connecting the nurse to the dietitian, to the doctor, to the physio, and saying, this could be the problem. And we're coming away and being able to treat our children. On the flip side, we've got to become those people for ourselves, and you've got to become the advocate for yourself, and then you've got to listen. And if someone says to me, it's probably, you're probably running too much, so that's probably why your knees are hurting. You get into that age and it does wear and tear on the knees. Why don't you try walking? If I'm not going to listen and be my own advocate, I'm probably going to keep hurting. So it is kind of difficult, because I have to trust that people want to help themselves and that they'll take advice if they've asked for it, and hopefully change a few ways, which isn't easy because we don't like to change, do we? In general.
No, and I think, the human mind is, by design, it's to keep us in the comfort zone, isn't it? To keep us protected, from looking back to hunter-gatherer times with beasts and that kind of thing. But the thing is, if we don't come out of the cave and hunt, then we're going to starve anyway. So that's the thing. So we've got to change, and if we've got some bad habits, it's like I stopped drinking about 3 years ago. It was slowing me down, making me not productive. I just came to the conclusion that it were poison, and I don't go around being a teetotaler who's saying, taking drinks off people and saying, don't drink or anything like that. But I'd go to the doctor. I had heartburn. That was one of the symptoms. As you get older, you don't like hangovers as well. But the doctor said, drink less, but here's heartburn pills as well. But that's only kind of a short-term fix, isn't it, like you said? Do you want to unpack do you think the obviously mindset is one of the most important things, and what we learn, and the habits that we form and stuff like that? Do you do much work on kind of, like you said, the GPs, if you've only got like a few minutes in with the patient to make those quick decisions? Does some of your work involve like forming new habits and eliminating bad habits and stuff like that to then help somebody with a lifestyle change?
Yeah, I'm not a coach, not by any means. I'm a good teacher, not by qualification, but just in general. So if I can pick up on the fact that someone does want to change and wants some tips and tricks and things, I obviously have a lot of knowledge. In 20 years, I've seen people exercise and not change a thing about how they eat and stay exactly the same shape, for 10 years, and complain that they're not changing their shape, but not wanting my opinion on the matter. And you kind of know your place with people. So if I, wanted some advice on something, but I came in telling you exactly what I'm going to do, instead of saying, what should I do about this, Michael? Then I think you understand you're going to fall on deaf ears. And so I do love when I get people that are like, oh, so what would you do about this then? And what would you do about this? And I'm not a coach. I could be. I don't want to be. It's not a profession that I want to go out there and try and sell myself as. But I think I'm very good one-on-one with women in particular. If they want to change, I can give you that confidence to change. I can give you some goals. I can set them for you, hold you accountable, can work with us. Clients, I had a friend that's a footballer and she had she wanted to come and train for something particular to get stronger and faster. I can do that, and then I can say you probably shouldn't be doing this during the week, and those people listen. The difficulty is it does lie with the other person, 90% of that, because I'm just a cheerleader, right? I feel like that's what coaches are. All the coaches might want to come kill me now. But I feel like they're just cheerleaders. Like,
it's a lot of pep talks, isn't it, really?
yeah, I can give you the information, but 90% of that is you. And I can't remember who said this, but someone said you need to find the dedication where the motivation lacks, because I'm not motivated every single day to not binge eat on sugar. I'm not motivated. I love sugar. I've got a sweet tooth. But my dedication to my body, because I want to live longer, is I'm not going to binge eat on sugar. So it's on those dark days where you've got zero motivation. Can something April said, or knowing you're going to see her next week, can something trigger? Yes, I've done that because you were ringing in my ear, April. So I can be a bit of a cheerleader on the side. Where the essential oils and the health comes into play, again, I mean, it's 100% on the other person. I can teach you the class, I can teach you what the oils are for, I can tell you what books to get, I can listen to your problems and tell you what I would do in that situation. But unless you go home and you open that bottle and you maybe take that lemon in that water every morning, don't come back and tell me you've got heartburn next week, because I'm going to say, did you use lemon? And you're going to say no, and I'm going to go, it's your own fault then. So it's really picking up on, do they want my help? Can I help them? I am a great asset to have in the corner if you want help and you want my motivation. I can give you what I've got, but if you don't want to, I can't. I think that goes for a lot of things in life, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And so, just like, we've got to be careful here, obviously, but if somebody's taking a pharmaceutical medicine for a particular ailment, the essential oils, there's something extra on top.
Yeah, so
rather than a replacement for that,
exactly.
Would you say?
So my kids don't. We've never stopped a single medication. I wouldn't, mess with things like that. I think there are probably some where people themselves have said, I don't need that anymore. I'm doing this. For instance, hay fever.
That's one that I've been. So this really speaks to me. The last couple of weeks have been difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to share what I've done in the last couple of weeks, and I think I've kind of, I think if I would have, and obviously I'll seek your advice on this podcast now on this actually, but I think if I would have carried on having local honey a little bit, like almost like microdosing it, leading up to this hay fever season, I think I would have had an easier time. But I've just done nothing and then started piling on the pills. So,
it's hard because it has been horrendous for everybody with hay fever.
It's been terrible. So, one day the pills didn't work, and I thought, oh right, now I've got I had a 2-day headache basically, 2-day. I'm not feeling cracking today.
The problem is once it starts to congest, because I've suffered and do suffer myself, it does go further back to the sinuses, further back, hurts your head. Then you're in a bad mood, you're like a bear with a sore head, literally. Coughing, I get a nasal drip and cough, and then, oh my gosh, I hate it. Yeah, so it's something simple like that for myself. I would take an antihistamine every single day. I've since found out that I've got quite a horrible allergy to dust mites and didn't know, but that totally makes sense because it would never go away. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to look at gut health because depending who you speak to, it's about 70 to 80% of your immune system in your gut. So if you've got a healthy gut, you've got a healthy you. So what did I need to do? So I did some things to cleanse and some things to restore. Probiotics became part of my lifestyle. Natural enzymes when I'm eating became part of that. And I eliminated having to take those. Whereas where my child's concerned, Lauren in particular, both of them have hay fever, but Lauren can't talk. And so I've got to always tread that very carefully, that I just don't want her to suffer. So there are times when I just have to give her the antihistamine. And I'm okay with that because her best interests are at my heart is all about, I want this child to have the nicest experience. She's already suffering. Whereas myself, I can just decide for myself, no, I'm not going to do that today. And I'm going to we've got a blend, if I've got it close, we've got a blend called Air. Now, it's not initially the one that I would use for myself if I was suffering with the sneezing season, but it can, a little drop on my hand, rub together and inhaled through the nose, it can help decongest some of that snot and horrible stuff, which is basically where pollen loves to stick and annoy us. So there are plenty of things to do, and if you want your own little, sneezing season is what I call it, so be compliant, Michael. If you want your little sneezing season pack, so as soon as that hits, then cool. And it could work instantly. And if it doesn't, then my options would be, let's try gut health. What are we missing? That's kind of how I do it.
Gut health, we're talking, you mentioned probiotics.
Yeah, pre and probiotics. So there's a lot of research out there about how if you've got a good gut flora and a nice environment and it's healthy and it's not damaged horrendously by the things you eat, like too much sugar in your diet or too many antibiotics. It's also another one because it just kills everything. If you can get that back in balance, you will feel far better about yourself.
And it feels like I've not really kind of journaled on this, but like last year, I don't think I had many antihistamines, but I did have a lot of local honey. And it is quite local, the stuff that I've been getting. So I've been getting it from a local farm shop. And I'd like to think that I probably only have I don't know, maybe 5, not even 10 antihistamines last year. And I just had that local honey. And I'm not saying I had the local honey like same dose every day. I'll probably having like a few spoonfuls, putting it in my tea, and maybe even having an amount that's not even healthy because I quite like it. But this year, I don't know if it's it does seem to have been worse. That's one thing, definitely seems to have been worse. I think there were a direct correlation. We've got a rapeseed field at one side. We've got farmers at both sides. We're quite rural. We're kind of outskirts of Barnsley, but we're quite rural as well. We've got woodland and, like I said, a couple of farmers. But yeah, direct correlation. When I just walked past, having a walk, rapeseed field, and then I got it, pretty much straight away after that. But do you think I like to think that everything to kind of cure us to an extent, and I'm talking long term over time. I think there's damage that we do over time, isn't there?
Yeah.
Can I come off antihistamines, do you think, at some point, in your opinion, by just doing kind of natural
My personal opinion from experience is yes. My doTERRA opinion is try it wisely. Because obviously nothing cures anything. The thing with this is, and I find compliance quite difficult when I'm speaking about it, because doTERRA expect me to be compliant, which is absolutely brilliant. It's the wording around that compliance, because my experience is, yes, I came off antihistamines because my body, this is where it is. It's not the essential oils doing it. My body is using what I'm putting into it, and my body is creating a better environment for itself. So it's my body healing itself. Our bodies heal ourselves every night. We go to sleep, our immune system works overdrive, we're getting rid of things, toxins. Literally our body is working as it should if we give it the right ingredients. So I believe that most things, our body, if we're treating it correctly, Western diet does not help. Processed rubbish does not help. I'm guilty of it. I eat some of that stuff because it's delicious. But it doesn't help us. If you think about, they talk about the blue zones, don't they? And I've watched a documentary on them around the world. I think there's something like 7 blue zones. I don't know if you've heard of them. But basically, those people will 90 to 95% of the time eat a plant-based diet, and it will be very little meat. And one of the things that's still kind of a question is, when they eat that tiny little bit of meat, is it because they think that that's beneficial, a tiny bit of meat, or is it just because, hey, we're having a celebration, why not? Let's have a little bit of meat. No one knows why there's a tiny bit in there. But if you go plant-based, and I'm not talking my opinion isn't that everyone should go vegan. You should do what you want, my opinion is. But if you want better results, you should treat your body better. So plant-based should be the majority of our diet. And if we did that, and if we drank enough water, and if we sorted our sleep out, and we sorted our stress levels, or at least how we cope with stress, I think our bodies would be in a far better position and less prone to these problems like hay fever and gut problems and IBS and all kinds of things that are out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And this is something I've been pondering actually, because I know that a lot of people have been getting into what's the carnivore diet, which is obviously another extreme.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's plant-based, that's vegan, isn't it, basically?
Yeah.
Couple of questions on that then. What do you think to the carnivore diet? And then second part of that question, I was watching something on YouTube which was fascinating. It were a guy who, and this was some frugality as well, he were growing everything. I think he were getting most of his nutrition from plant-based, if not all of it. And then he were putting things in jars, and he had all these wonderful stuff, drying it and all that kind of thing. So he was stockpiling, just growing. But second part of the question then is, like, the soil's different these days, isn't it? I think one of the reasons as well, kind of just cycling back to the hay fever, is somebody told me the other day, somebody who works for the NHS actually, paramedic side of things, that one of the reasons why the hay fever's worse is the pesticides that they're putting in with the crops, and that's kind of making it worse or whatever. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it said to me. I'm quite disciplined, and I could probably do plant-based, even though I do like meat. But liking something is not enough. I'd rather have the results. You said the results. So yeah, if I were going to have plant-based, can I do that in this country, do you think, with the soil? And I'd want to do it naturally as well. I don't believe in, the pesticides and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. No, yeah. I totally agree. I think, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, around how nutrient deficient the soil is. And
that's the one, yeah.
Therefore, your food's going to be less, nutrient dense. Well, I think that's where smart supplementation comes in. When you're looking, if you're doing everything right and you think, right, I'm doing plant-based, I'm still feeling a little tired. Not that everyone gets their blood checked, but I've checked my blood, I'm still deficient in this or this. Smart supplementation. So you want a supplement of some sort that your body can absorb. You don't want synthetics. you do if your body can absorb it and it does you good, and there are plenty out there. My children have to have some of them. What do I think of the carnivore diet? It's crazy. I think anything in extreme or in... It's everything in moderation. That's what it should be. Everything in moderation. So you're doing a plant-based diet, right? But you only like beetroot and carrots. You're not going to get much from a plant-based diet. It's got to be wide variety of foods. I think the way that the food industry is going, the way food's grown, the way food's given to us, I think it's created a lot of extremism. There are people that won't eat grains. I think if those grains came to us, how they came to people 200 years ago, we probably could eat them and not be unwell. And I don't think anyone should live a carnivore diet. I think protein is super important, but you can get a lot of protein, and most of your protein, some would argue all of your protein, from a plant-based diet, and that'd be just good for you. Now, I'm not 100% plant-based. I try my best to be plant-based, but I like some chicken, and so I'll eat chicken. Don't eat a lot of red meat. A lot of red meat's linked to a lot of diseases. You're going to see these results from these extreme diets in 10, 20, 30 years. That's what's going to happen. And that's what tends to happen. When people go extreme with things, you see the results of those extremes later on. And whilst they might feel great doing it now, there's a gap, I think, when you're doing something so extreme. There's a gap. Your body needs what the earth is providing. That we're built to take on vegetables and fruits, use them. I mean, when you look at the cancer-fighting properties of some of the fruits and vegetables, if not all, some would argue, why wouldn't you want them in your diet? You would. You would absolutely want them. I was listening to this guy called Chris Walk, I think he's called, and he did a series, and one of the things I picked out of this series was how interestingly it was condensed cherry. Did he call it cherry nectar or cherry juice? Basically condensed cherries on cancer cells and tumours, and how it shrunk them. It was fascinating. And so in my head I'm thinking, well, no, we're not going to eat it as concentrated as that. That was in a lab. That was done to test things. But it obviously has cancer-fighting properties in that cherry. I want cherries in my diet. And it's not going to be the same from meat at all. So no, I don't think that the carnivore diet, in a nutshell, I think it's crazy, and I think if you're doing it, you're daft. Moderation to everything. Lean towards plants and fruits, vegetables, grains as much as possible. Get your proteins from them as much as possible. If you want a little bit of meat, your prerogative, get the protein, a little bit of meat. And then just be wise, like the things you drink. I can't remember how many years ago now, I would say about 10. I cut out fizzy pop, except I might have a little bit of my apple ties at Christmas, but I cut out fizzies. I don't drink fizzies very often because I didn't feel good, and I felt better once I'd cut them out, and my body felt better. And we should be drinking water. We're like 70% water.
Yeah, I'm drinking this. We're on San Pellegrino, but I like fizzy water, so this is, I think it's Lidl or Aldi, I think. Apparently it's Italian. So sparkling water. I try to drink more. I'm not saying I have that every day. But, I do drink coffee, as you know. I do drink water. I have alcohol-free, completely 0.0%. This Pearl and Backer, which is either from, I never remember if it's from Lidl or Aldi. I'll have milk in my coffee because I have flat whites and cappuccinos, but I never have any fizzy pop or dilute pop or anything like that. I think there's the odd Diet Coke, very occasionally, like once every 3 months, and that's only been a recent thing anyway. 0.0% Guinness when I'm with friends, but it's not even, because I've never, in terms of sweets, you talk about sort of white sugar is probably the most dangerous thing. There's no nutritional value; it's just empty calories.
Tastes so good.
Yeah, and I think when you've been, I remember years ago, I stopped eating crisps for a while, and then when I had some crisps, the flavour were really intense. It were too intense for my palate, so your taste buds change.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's the thing. So it's just building the good habits. But I've got no cravings at all for the sweet stuff. I like are like puddings, so treacle, pudding, chocolate fudge cake. But sometimes that's got to be really high quality, like chocolate. I don't like cheap. I can taste if it's cheap, so I'd rather not have it. I like ginger biscuits, the really high quality ones, not like cheap stuff. But I can do without it.
Clean.
Yeah, yeah. But I've never had like the jelly sweets, like the stuff you have as a kid. Some people as adults have those, and it's like eating the chewy stuff. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like.
Love them, Michael. Stick me in a sweet shop. It's like a kid at Christmas. Yeah, it's a weakness. I have to say no. I'm not doing sugar. I have to put myself on a no sugar thing, so I won't go and eat them.
And how do you do that? And do you, because this is one thing that's really interesting to me. We're like, obviously you can stop doing it, can't you? But is it something that's quite deep rooted from being a child, and then we've got the neural pathways grooved in, and I know we've got neuroplasticity, but we can change with enough time, can't we? Because new habits can be formed.
Yeah.
So what? Just challenging you then. Is
So
this something? Do you want to keep eating the sweets, or is it something
I,
that you
I,
think you'd?
I want to eat them all the time. I'm a sugar
But
addict.
it's not good for you.
I know it's not good for me. I don't eat them all the time. Let me just clarify.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the thing I learned years ago I did a certificate of higher education in health related exercise and fitness, it was called back in the day. And the thing that I learned a little bit, I think it was from the tutor, she's saying don't say to yourself, you can never have that again. The psychology behind that is it will make you have it tomorrow. If you tell yourself no, it actually makes us want it and crave it more than we actually want. It's the weirdest thing in your brain. So I learned from very young, like 19, 20, I won't do that. I'll tell myself I'll have them at the weekends only. So that's how I began. And then come Friday night, I would eat what I wanted till Sunday night, and then I would stop. And it became where I wanted it less and less. And so now, I don't want. I'm not going to go and eat sweets. I love the taste of them. I know I love them, and I know if I wanted to go and eat them, I would enjoy them thoroughly. But I know it's not good for my body, so I wanted to curb that habit. I wanted to be in control because it's all about, I guess, one of the things, if you move away from fitness and health, I suppose, to the mind, one of the things that, this is a quote from my nana actually, she wrote in a book she bought me years and years and years ago, I was 14, try always to remember that the real glory comes from the silent conquest of ourselves. And that really stuck with me. I have no idea why, but I just kept reading it and reading it. And I suppose I've understood it more and more as I've got older that I don't want to be controlled by something. I want to control what I do when I have something, that I don't want something. I don't want to be addicted. So I never tried smoking. It was the thing to do at school, but I never tried it. I never tried drinking. Saw alcoholics in my family, didn't want to be like them. And I just wanted to make sure that I kept my body away from things that would control it. That was a thought constantly from quite a young age. And I think that's the thing. If you look at your lifestyle and like, I've got nothing to change, I'm fine, yet you've got to have a cigarette every hour, something is controlling you. You do not have control over that. And being able to say that out loud and then want to try and fix that, that's impressive. Like being able to control what you do and what you take into your body, it's a mind thing rather than just stuffing a load of sweets in your mouth. It goes beyond that habit, doesn't it? It's all about controlling yourself. And I'm not perfect at it. Once I start eating the sweets, I might binge for a week and then be like, I'm done. I shouldn't eat these. What have I done? But I mostly don't eat the sweets, even though I want the sweets.
100%. Yeah, it's like, I suppose with a lot of things that I've stopped. So I did used to smoke, and I used to drink. And like when I used to drink, I used to eat crisps and salty nuts and stuff like that. And now I'll have like walnuts, which are meant to be
Really good for you.
yeah, really good for you. So I kind of have those, and obviously they're the ones without any salt in them or anything like that. So I tend to find that I'm a bit like an egg. If I crack a bit, I'll crack a lot. So the discipline can go if I start to, do anything that I don't want to do. The way that I look at it is a bit like a video game where, and there's like is it a 2 minute rule where, if you get up and you get your gym stuff on, gym gear ready, or spend 2 minutes before you go to bed getting it ready, you've got more chance of going to the gym in that 2 minutes. So that builds the momentum. And I think that's one of the kind of rules I live by. But also not getting into, because there's habit stacking. Habit stacking goes both ways.
Yes.
So James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits, where sometimes it's not about adding new things, but it's about getting rid of things.
Yeah.
And like addiction in general, and people don't like the word addiction, but any kind of addiction like overeating or alcohol or anything like that, I think it's all a sliding scale. I don't think it's binary, either you've got a problem or not. You could have a problem that can become a worse problem with anything. And I think it's interesting what you say in terms of nutrition and taking a step back. Mindset is if we're not in control of our mind, then who else is? The marketing companies, whoever's trying to push all this stuff onto us and create all this society with these people who've got these. I don't know. For me, if I had a cigarette again, I'd probably be smoking 10 or 20 a day again.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean. And then I'd probably be doing other unhealthy things as well and not exercising and stuff like that. So that's where,
You've got to know yourself, haven't you? So it's quite an honest thing for you to say out loud. I know if I took a cigarette, I'd be done and I'd need to smoke and it'd take me another year to kick that habit. Because I think as humans, we want to protect, I suppose, that vulnerability in us and not say that out loud. Because if we say it out loud, it's true, and then people can see a bit more of us and we become a bit, more open, and, that's a bad thing. It's actually not a bad thing. I think being honest with ourselves, I knew that I probably would become addicted if I started drinking. I knew that it would be an escapism. I had plenty to escape from. I did not want the life I saw some people having in my extended family. It controlled every waking moment of their day. Oh, it was like a wake up. I was like, I will never do that. And I've never drunk. And I think being able to say that to myself instead of, oh, I'll be fine, it wouldn't control me, I don't have that kind of personality. I think we can be flippant with ourselves, and I think it's a slippery slope. I think we've got to be more honest with ourselves than we are. I don't know if I'm making sense with that, but I find it with other people, and emotions is one of the things I think I pick up on it most from people, and then I've got to clock how they live their life, because I'm not angry. No, I'm fine. No, you are angry. You're upset. There's something behind that. What's behind what's going on? So what made those people? I have unfortunately got extended family that are drug addicts. What created that? It was an escapism, and it was the first step to that escapism wasn't heroin. It was smoking first from a very young age. It was drinking next. That wasn't enough. And it's a slippery slope, but there's some pain, there's something behind. I believe it for every single person that becomes an addict like that. There's something behind that made them begin that journey, and I find that if people could heal that, people would have more control over themselves rather than the substances having control. So I think from being young, when I say young, 19, 20, I wanted to make sure I was in control. I did not want to escape anything. And I think if you hold yourself to a bit of a higher standard than what you expect of other people even, I think that you're in a good standing to help others when needed. Even if you've not ever done it yourself, I think you can help others.
Definitely. Like, for example, if I had a cigarette or drink or anything like that, and the guilt would kick in because I'd be letting myself down and others. I don't know if you get into this, but the vibrational frequencies, so guilt is like the lowest. It's a form of energy and it's really low energy. So shame and guilt are like the things that can really spiral you down, into things and diminish your self-worth. And like getting more self-worth is all about proving, that you can do things by actually taking action, putting inputs in, and building self-confidence. But that's one of the things, I'd be thinking, well, what's the point in going for a walk and having the nice fresh air if I'm just going to be smoking? And there's a lot. It's weird. It's a weird mindset, and you get into the kind of the realms of cognitive dissonance and stuff like that, where you say, "Oh, somebody else said that the nan lived till they were 102 and they smoked every day and had a little nip of scotch or whatever every day, and it never did them any harm." And I know genetics comes into it and stuff like that, but for most people, it's going to lower the quality of life, really. And it does come down to, I can't remember where I kind of watched a video on this or something, but somebody said, it's difference between, it's all about dopamine, and it's all about, chemicals in the brain and stuff like that, and pleasure. But in terms of high vibrational states, it's joy over happiness for me. So it's like you can get happy by having heroin, but that's short term gratification. But to delayed gratification and actually do hard work, and that's where the joy comes from. And then it doesn't even become, you're climbing the mountain sort of metaphorically. You're doing that work. It's not about getting to the peak, because there'll be another peak to do. There's different levels to the game of life, isn't there? You keep leveling up and stuff like that, but you start to get joy from the everyday activities of getting there, don't you? And you can sit there and you can eat. For me, it'd be like crisps, beer, nuts, all that savoury stuff. That's where I used to like, and then Netflix, and then binge watch. But then at the end of the day, you feel, oh, I've watched 5 or 6 episodes or something, watching other people do something rather than me living my life, kind of thing. And then at the end of it, you just feel really bad, don't you? Because you've not actually achieved anything. You've let your kind of monkey brain or your emotions control what you're going to do, kind of that day or whatever, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how does the personal training kind of fit in with what were the journey like between the personal training then to because you did personal training before then, April, and then you transition into the essential oils. What were that kind of transition like, and why did you transition from like that?
It's quite an interesting little timeline. So I left. So I did a BTEC in public services because I wanted to be a cop years ago, and that was really focused on your fitness and everything. So we got to go running, we got to walk, and we got to do all these things that I was like, oh, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I loved at school. This is brilliant. And then I went to get work experience, and I just walked into a gym, and then I met my long-term boss from then on, Paul, And I was like, I want to do work experience. What do you think? He was like, do you even like sports or anything? I was like, yeah, play loads of them. I'm very good. So I started working in the gym, and then I went to university. I didn't do a degree, but I did a certificate for higher education to become a personal trainer, and went back and worked in the gym for a few years. And then I had Lauren, and I knew that I didn't want to go back and work shift work like a PT. So I actually randomly became a bookkeeper. I did my qualifications and I became a bookkeeper so that I could do his books, still be at the gym, but have this window of figuring out what to do next. Whilst obviously then having Lauren and all of these issues coming up, essential oils came along. I'd built up a few clients doing my bookkeeping, and I remember I earned so much from bookkeeping, and I had started to earn a little bit from this doTERRA business, but I needed it to take over a little. So I remember working like someone crazy for about 18 months, 2 years, and I was like, right, now one of them's got to give. Bookkeeping was never a passion. Bookkeeping, I'm good with numbers, that's brilliant. It's a great qualification to have, but let's park that. It's not a passion of mine. Let's go into this. And then I did that. I probably did that for a good 5 years, going hell for leather, built up quite a business, and really enjoyed working with people. I don't love people in general. I mean, stick me in the middle of a cinema and everyone's chewing and crisps everywhere, and I want to get the hell out of there. But I like helping people. I like seeing the change. So I was really proud of what I'd achieved. And then we had Wyatt, and that kind of threw us for six because he was diagnosed then with cystic fibrosis, but he didn't have the other condition Lauren has, and he wasn't disabled in any way. He was just a typical boy, but had cystic fibrosis. So I thought, parenthood was going to come slightly different, but I could also work on this. Let's take him out walking, let's get him physically active, let's get him loving the outdoors and playing and all the things Lauren couldn't do. And it kind of gave me a bit of I think I want to train people again. I think I want to help women get stronger again. So I started to do that at home again. And now actually I've just signed up to do a strength and conditioning course to add to the PT. So I've just started that because I want to help women get stronger. And I think there's it's trifold, isn't it? I want to help people get stronger physically. I want women particularly to get stronger physically because I think our bodies need it, especially at the age that I am and all the changes that happen. I think life happens to us and our bodies, and I want to take control of that as well. I want to help others do that. I think as a byproduct, then they get stronger mentally, and then I think they become more empowered in their own life as the third kind of part of the triangle. And I think they start to take control of things like, can I take care of my family better? Yes. Give him a probiotic every morning. Can I take care of my husband better? He won't do absolutely anything I tell him, but he'll drink that multivitamin drink just there. Or, something like we start to take charge and be stronger and be who we're supposed to be and change our little orbit. It's not necessarily everyone's going to go out and change the world. Good for them. I hope a lot of them do. But can they change their little orbit? Can they make those people around them want to be stronger in every little way to cope with a very crazy world in all of the forms? So that's kind of where I'm at now and how I got here. Been an interesting journey.
Yeah, there's a few things that resonate there. It's like when you get older, you do need, I think we'll be thankful for the especially muscle that we build, won't we? Especially with mobility when we're older. Somebody said to me when I was younger, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, the guys who I followed in the 80s and, they were all the action hero films and, being a young boy, those were the kind of films I loved. They said, they won't do very well when they were younger, when they're older, but they're doing great.
Doing all right, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing absolutely brilliant. I mean, they've gone high reps, low weights and everything. and it's less about the kind of powerlifting stuff. And obviously, yeah, but yeah,
Can I just say I also loved all those films?
yeah, oh, brilliant, yeah, yeah. That it was just my childhood watching those over and over again on VHS, and
Commando, yeah, all of them.
yeah,
Loved them.
and I think it's so important. It's I mean, I think fitness, health, most important thing, because if we don't look after ourselves, we can't look after our families anyway.
Exactly.
So we've got to do that. It's like they say when the plane's going down, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you've got to help yourself.
And you just
first,
become more reliant on the NHS. You become more reliant on a system that, by and large, most people would tell you is absolutely shockingly broken. And it is. There are some really good parts of it, and the people in general. I'm not talking about your GPs. I'm talking about actual NHS. You go into the hospital things. Most of those people want to help people, and that's the experience we've had. Most of them are good. I have a different experience where GPs are concerned, and come across very few that I would, admire in any which way. But you don't want to be reliant on a system that you're waiting, like 18 months to go and see a gastroenterologist. Well, if you've got gut issues, you probably want to be able to see someone a bit quicker. How about we try and prevent all of that in yourself by doing all the things that you hopefully know are good for you? And it's really interesting. I haven't got it to hand, but there's a picture that really, really, really strikes me, and is two bodies, and one is inside all fruit and veg, and it's a leanish body, and this obese body it makes up the body of like pizzas and hot dogs and bottles of Coke and all sorts of stuff. And it's actually terrifying. Like, even what I know, I still will eat some of that crap. And it's just terrifying how many people won't even consider what you're putting into your body is causing what you're just telling me you're suffering with. It's what's going in your mouth. Stop eating it. Stop eating like that. But it's become this societal norm. A treat is you get your takeout on a Friday night, and not us necessarily because don't drink, but you get your beers in, you get your wine. The calories that come with all of that, it's got to go somewhere. It's going on your body. And they're not good calories. Your fried rice and whatever else you're having, that's not good calories. But it's so much nicer for the brain than going, I'll tell you what, let's make up a veg stir fry. Not many people would say yes to that. Like, no, I don't want to come to your house for a vegetable stir fry. Where's my Chinese? And so it's trying to get out of that societal norm and being okay with saying when you're at a restaurant, no, I'm good. I've got what I need. I don't need a dessert. And being strict with yourself. And most would say, yeah, but you're taking the enjoyment out of life. I would rebuttal that with, who's enjoying being 70 in heart failure, with arthritis riddling their bodies, with gut issues where they can't eat hardly anything, and taking 20 pills a day? Because I wouldn't enjoy that and don't want to be like that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like when I stopped drinking, a good friend of mine said, he said it a while afterwards, he said, you've got to stop thinking about it like it's something that you're giving up. You're actually gaining a lot. Because there's... The way I did it is I started to challenge the... the paradigm that, everybody does it, this is fine, society does it, it's British culture, you need to have a blowout, all that kind of thing. But when I looked into it, when I started to break down a lot of those kind of myths around anything, and you can do this way. Gillian McKeith used to do it really well. I don't know if you remember Gillian McKeith.
We do, yeah.
She used to put all the takeaways on the table and show all the calories and that, and then she used to put the greens on there and everything. And actually, with the greens, you can eat a lot more, good healthy stuff. You can feel a lot more satiated. And she used to do that really well. And I think she used to. Do you know when you get something like white bread, and you kind of squash it up, and it becomes this horrible kind of sticky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, don't you? I used to, when I was a kid, I used to get the bread, and my mum used to go mad at me, and like roll it up into these little balls
And then
and then
eat it
eat
like
it. And
that. Yeah, yeah.
do you know what I mean? But you can do that with a lot of these unhealthy processed foods, and you can actually think what is in there of nutritional value. And what Vicky, my partner, does really well, she's a really good cook, such a good cook, and she'll make a stir fry Chinese, and it doesn't have like MSG in it or all like that. It's just like an healthy version of it. For a
Brilliant.
lot of these takeaways, they're just using like, not all of them, but a lot of them are using like cheap products,
Absolutely.
or not
Cheap as possible. Make us most money.
yeah,
The
to
people
make
that
more.
own that place don't care about your health or my health, Michael. They do not care whether you're suffering with arthritis or not. They care about their turnover. That's all. And I'm not saying lots of them don't deserve a good living from what they're doing. They've chosen to do whatever they're doing, and I wish the best for everybody. I do. But the people that are walking in and out of these takeouts more often are the ones with the health issues, and it becomes a habit, and it's one that's really difficult to break. And I was going to say it's education, because you don't know what you
I was
don't
going
know.
to say it's education. Yeah, it's education, and yeah,
Growing up, I did exactly the same. We used to get the Warburtons, the white bread, used to take the crust off, used to make them into these little balls, and I just used to eat a few, and I loved it. And I think what's happened, and this is no slight to my mother whatsoever, but she was a single mum, she had 6 of us. Um, we didn't have a lot of money, so processed was the cheapest and easiest, but we were fed. And if you had said to her then, this is going to damage their gut health later on, I mean, she probably would have gone, what the hell's that? But it wouldn't have been a thought in these people's brains, because they're just trying to feed their kids. So then you go forward, and I'm gluten intolerant, and I figured it out probably about 4 or 5 years ago, gave it up properly about 3 years ago, and feel healthier than I have in the last decade, 15 years. I genuinely don't believe I've got the celiac disease. I honestly believe the amount of processed things that I ate as a child, and my diet right up to being an early adult, even 5, 10 years into marriage, it damaged my gut, because I was eating the crap that we're given on the shelves, the fast food, the processed foods. You don't know what you don't know. And then I became more aware of these things and started to look into more of these things myself, just out of interest, just what I was, learning on the job, listening to my boss talk. And I'd get a thought, and then I'd be like, we're going to look that up. The internet became more available. I'd started to read more things. And suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't eat that. I'm intolerant to it because of my lifestyle up to now. So if anything, that's taught me I am in charge of my future self. What do I want? I don't want to not be able to eat anything. So I'm trying my best then to give my body what it needs to be healthy and well in 20 years. I have a disabled child. I want to be able to look after myself for a very long time.
and it's like you can, with other people, I suppose you can lead a horse to water, can't you?
Can.
And I think Vicky and I naturally, we don't really do takeaways. We do McDonald's, and I do. It's like I enjoy the McDonald's, but I know it's not, the healthiest thing. And I don't even like swap out the fries with carrot sticks or anything like that. I just do the full McDonald's.
McDonald's fries. Can't beat them.
I know it's one of those things, and I suppose you're choosing your poison, aren't you? Really, and it's like, yeah, I don't have sweets, but I'm more like the savoury, salty kind of.
That's Johnny. He's that. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I've got a thing with crisps, so like I think they've made like kind of the kettle crisps really addictive now. They're like really, I can do a 150-gram bag of those in a sitting. It's ridiculous. Um, So it's like I'll say to Vicky, let's not buy any of those, out of sight, out of mind. Let's not have them in the house. But I'll get the craving. I'll think, oh, have you got any crisps in the house? Have you hidden any? That kind of thing. And then it's
Yeah.
like, so it's like you've always got that old paradigm creeping up, and you're wanting to work like your future version of yourself, aren't you? But you've got to
Us?
keep
Yeah.
reinforcing the habits, because you can,
Daily.
especially
Daily, right? For you, that's a
daily,
daily thing. Yeah.
or I can return to, especially like you said, a lot of these. I think you've got your baseline formed between being born and 9 years old, in particular, aren't you? That's where you've got a lot of your. I don't know if you agree with that, but
I've not heard that before, but go
yeah,
on.
baseline between being born and 9. A lot of things we're taught, because we're like sponges quite early on, aren't we? And then obviously we learn throughout our lives. We've got neuroplasticity, but I mean, I'm thinking about when I was growing up. My mum would cook very traditional meat and two veg, but it was very bland. It was
Yeah.
very. She didn't put a lot of salt in. She didn't use pepper at all, so it was very bland. There were no. So she'd make. So she did. My mum did steer us away from the processed food.
Good.
She was very good with that, really good with that. And her mum, my nana, she was very traditional. So it were like Sunday dinner, or it were like pork chops, lamb chops, all potatoes, and then veg. There weren't a big variety of veg, and it were like carrots and then cabbage, and the cabbage were like overdone. Like it were like obliterated. It were like really soft. Whereas these days we're kind of taught, to cook or like steam, aren't we? Really, because that keeps a lot of the nutrition in there. But very much that kind of thing. I didn't like eating it. I sort of pestered my mum to get me the chicken nuggets and the
Right.
Bernard Matthews turkey drummers, and that's what I ended up eating. That's what about. My mates were having like burgers and chips, and my mum said, "You don't want that rubbish. You want this."
You're like, I do.
And I wanted the kind of. I didn't have Indian food until I was probably late 20s. My mum
Wow.
and dad just were completely traditional with food. So that's kind of how I were brought up, and I were wanting the processed food, and then my mum would get me the processed food and stuff like that. And my dad were like, "No, you're eating what we're having. We're all having the same thing." So that was my upbringing. So I kind of rebelled against that, and I went into chocolate. So chocolate was my thing, chocoholic. Never the sweets though. I didn't like chewy sweets, so I
No,
never
good
got into that.
chocolate.
I had them. I didn't like them. I remember going when it used to be 10 pence to get a mixed bag of what do they call them?
Tenpenny sweets.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you got a 10 pence with a mixed. Yeah, I never liked that. I remember putting that ring on, that
Yeah.
kind of rubber ring, and you eat that off your finger, and like the cigarettes, which I like the cigarettes with like the chocolate, and they've got
Yeah.
the
Oh my
the
God.
rice. Is it rice paper?
Well, it must be. It was edible, but yeah.
Yeah, it were edible, wasn't it? Yeah, and then you
You
got
don't
those.
see them anymore, really.
I don't think the do them, do they? Maybe it's because it. Yeah, well, they got vapes now, aren't they? So,
Yeah. Chocolate
um,
vapes instead.
which is another thing. I think the found vapes are they more addictive than like normal cigarettes or something like that. I don't know, but
I haven't actually seen any research, but one of my
yeah,
things that I said earlier is they'll see the effects of this vaping, they'll see it come to
yeah,
pass in the next few years, and it won't be until it's too late for quite a lot of people. I can't imagine they're a good thing at all.
no, no. I've just heard some anecdotally people say, "Oh, I've never smoked, but I'm into vapes." And I've got some people I know they're into vapes, and I've never known them as a smoker, but they're vaping. And
Crazy.
they're saying that they find it so difficult. Maybe that's the accessibility of it, rather than what's in it. But I know from giving up smoking, it was very difficult to give up. But I always think, well, saying that, is it a limiting belief? Because I know that I once heard that you've got to, the old person. ceases to exist. The old version of yourself, when you give up something, that person ceases to exist, and then you become like a new person. So that's like your 2.0 version of yourself. So that's the way I look at it. So it's like with anything, like building a business, I always look at it like this new person. Who do they hang around? You know, because you're the average. Some of the 5 people you hang around with the most. How do you dress? And you start doing that. Does that new version of yourself to have that bigger business stay in bed until 9 a.m. in the morning, or do they get up early, or so just start getting up early, and then before you know it, you start to
productive.
Yeah, but I mean, I know I'm skipping about a bit, but one of the ways that I stopped drinking in particular, where I looked around at a lot of kind of famous people, like Ewan McGregor has not drunk for years. What's the guy out of The Hangover?
Haven't seen it actually. I don't know.
Can't remember his name, but he's not drunk for years. Tom Hardy's not drunk for years. So I started to look at these people who've not drunk for, the teetotal, and think, oh, right. Relation. These are highly successful people. I want to be really successful. Let's not drink.
Good.
Yeah. Same way. I mean, I stopped smoking when I was 24. When we found out that we were having, first child. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be a smoking dad. I don't want to be that parent who smokes. Because when I grew up, my mum and dad didn't smoke. I did it to rebel against my mum and dad.
I see.
Because they were so strict. So rebel. So I smoked, and I looked around, and I always felt sorry for my mates when I were at school, whose parents smoked, because I thought, well, they're going to die earlier. That's kind of how I thought.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. Just as I think about it, so I thought, oh, their parents are going to die earlier, so they're going to lose their parents earlier. Because I was always terrified about losing my parents. That was one of my big fears. I don't know if everybody thinks like that, but
I did not.
I had a big fear of losing my parents when I was.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Some obviously then has triggered that, but it never occurred to me as a child. I don't remember feeling that.
Yeah, and I thought that then you think everybody else thinks like that, don't you? When you're really young, you almost think like the world revolves around you, kind of thing. When you're really young, don't you? Because you know. But it's interesting when you start to go back. I think you've kind of touched on having to go back and I mean, do you go into trauma and stuff like that, like childhood trauma, and go into that with people? I know that's more a coaching thing, so maybe not. But
Do you know what you find is, and I don't know if any instructors listen to this ever, maybe they can drop you a message. I find you become a little bit of an offloading. It becomes a bit of a therapy job as well. People just tell you stuff, Michael. Or maybe it's just me. I don't know. People tell me a lot of stuff. And it's really interesting. You can, once so many people have told you things, you can correlate some habits from people and then figure out why. Okay, makes sense, actually. And I think that's the hardest one to crack because, having trauma is very different for every single person. I am, not naive to that fact, but I think it can have the effect on some where they can't get out of that, and those people find it more difficult to help themselves, perhaps, and stuck. And I don't know. I've few people like that in my life. I don't know how to help those people because it appears that they're stuck, but you can see where that's come from, so you fully have that empathy of it. But what's next? And I desperately didn't want to live like that. I have my own childhood traumas, and the way I've kind of dealt with that is I've become a bit more of a protector, and I suppose maybe that's why I ended up wanting to help people do more for themselves and take charge for themselves, because I want to empower people like perhaps I wasn't as a kid, and being able to give back in that little way. And when you get people that share those things and they want to help themselves, grab on with two hands and like, cool, I can help you. Let's do it. And that comes in all the forms. It comes, from doTERRA. These are your issues currently. Let's try these. Let's walk if that's all you can do for the start. And then maybe training. Let's talk. I don't mind listening. Not a therapist by any means, but it kind of all comes with that package. And I learned that very young in the gym. People tell you all sorts of crap. Oh my gosh. I could tell a few secrets.
That's the trust, isn't it, April? It's like, and you need that with a business, don't you? You need clients who are, it's that know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
Really. And obviously I'm thinking about my marketing clients where they'll give me the credit card and they'll say, oh, you sign up to that thing, and they give me the credit card, the keys to the finances to the business. I'm thinking, they really trust me. And you need to be able to trust somebody to
absolutely,
for them to receive that help and all that kind of thing, because
and that feels nice as the business side of it. You feel really good. That's where some of the joy comes from. I think that you're trustworthy, but someone else has recognised that in you as well, and therefore lean on that and trust you. Like chucking my credit card to someone and go, you do that for me. I guarantee you, there are very, very few people in the world I would do that with. So for someone to do that with you, they've let down some barriers and actually trust you, which is it's a nice tick in the box for you.
Yeah, I've had it a few times in last year actually, and I thought, oh right, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's some good kind of feedback and everything like that. So that's pretty good.
I think the only thing I suppose I would add is, it is true for myself as it is for other people, when you're starting something, whether it be, the holistic health side of things, or fitness, you want to start training. I really, really like to quote, I love Usain Bolt. I'm obsessed with the Olympics and athletics, and I watch all kinds of sports on telly when I get a chance, but the athletics in particular, and I absolutely adore Usain Bolt. And it was I actually took a picture of it for you because he said, and this was fairly recent in the last couple of years, maybe it was just last year, what year are we in? No, it was a couple of years ago. He said, I trained 4 years to run 9 seconds and people give up when they don't see results in 2 months. I was like, oh my gosh, when you put it like that. We do give up quickly. We give up quickly on ourselves. We give up quickly because it's easier to wish and want for something and live with that, or we think it is, than putting the work in to get the results and being happy there, this future person. So stick with things. Don't just fob it off after a couple of times.
Yeah, and it's that instant gratification versus the delayed gratification, isn't it? But then when I first kind of pondered that, I thought, well, delayed gratification, I'm going to be giving up things now, but you're not. It's weird this when you realise that there's the joy in just being calm without any, like you said, you want control. I want control as well, and to be a sovereign individual where you've got choices. You don't have to be controlled by something, whether it's a substance or it could be a person or a situation or anything like that. We've got the benefit as human beings is that between that stimulus and response, we've got that decision making, haven't we? And that's the main thing. Yeah. I'm absolutely fascinated about that, and I do think that business and life in general is about growing. So you mentioned you don't know what you don't know, which in learning, there's 4 stages of learning, and you don't know what you don't know is called unconscious incompetence, isn't it? And then the 4th stage, when you get your tacit knowledge, your 4th stage of learning, when you put in your 10,000 hours, like when you've been driving, for years, and then you're driving down the road, you've gone 2 miles down the road, you don't even know how you got there, you don't even know, you can't remember doing the controls and stuff like that. That's tacit knowledge. So that's where you've gone from not knowing what you don't know, which is unconscious incompetence, to unconscious competence, which is unconscious. You're doing it subconsciously or unconsciously, but you can do it because you put in your 10,000 hours and learn something. That's where you're a true expert. Yeah, I'm just fascinated with all that stuff, with how when you're growing, particularly when you're growing a business and you're leveling up in life and you want to become a better version of yourself. And I'm pretty careful. I tend to not say the best possible version of myself, because I don't think it's ever. I think once we get there, we want something more, and if you're ambitious, you keep pushing. And it's not, and that's often kind of misinterpreted as being ungrateful. I'm really grateful for everything I've got.
Yeah.
Because that's positivity.
Yeah.
Losing my voice. That's positivity, because if you're focusing on what you've got, you can't focus on negativity. And negativity, low vibrational energy, it's a form of energy, and the energy is low with that. So
no, it's true. I think as well, being able to be okay with failing. Like, you're gonna fail more than you're gonna succeed. If you're building a business and you're changing and you're building a different life, whether that's business or personal, you are going to fail and feel that more than success. But that's where you learn. That's where you learn something new, change how you approach it. I think it was something like, how many times did it take Microsoft to become Microsoft? It wasn't on the first 10 goes, it was hundreds down the line, and then it became what it is. If you give up instantly, you never quite get to where you've created what it is that you're visioning, whether that be, in business, you want to build a health and wellness business, you want to build a tech business, whatever it is, or whether it's, I want to be in the best shape I've ever been in. You got to keep going. You're going to slip up. You're probably going to eat a pizza every now and then. Don't feel so bad about it. Just remember how it felt, move on, keep going, and just keep learning. And I think when we stop learning, that's when people get stagnant. And very interestingly, I find it's those people that don't put any kind of trust, or what's the word I'm looking for? They don't care whether you succeed or not. They're not bothered, and they actually probably put some negativity out towards it as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think so I've got dog barking here. I don't even know if it's picking it up on this. But so in terms of the few things to unpack there as well, April, in terms of asking for advice from people who've not actually done it as well, because I'm a big believer in, definitely failing forward. I think that's quite nuanced, because you can actually fail quite big and then be out of the game for a while and have to get a job. That's one of the things.
Yeah.
And I know that when I read one of the Dragon's Den, the one who plays tennis, quite tall guy, I can't remember his name now, Peter Jones, yeah. He failed with his first business, I think, like late 20s, I think, and then he ended up sleeping in his office for 6 months, and it's almost like a rite of passage with a lot of entrepreneurs. But then he ended up getting a figure job, and then and then obviously he came back stronger, but he failed big in that business, and a lot of them do, and it's because of the risk taking. But on the other hand, some people, they stay in the comfort zone, they never take any risks, but then they're guaranteeing that they're gonna not really do anything of. And I've got to be careful here, because I'm not one of those people who thinks that.
Because some people want that life and that suits them, right? That is fine.
Yeah.
But if everybody felt like that, no one would create anything, and the world wouldn't keep on moving. We wouldn't have the advancements in any kind of sector of life, technology, businesses, in products. So you wouldn't have it if people didn't. So I do understand what you mean, though. But then there are those people that don't want that. It's not for them. Absolutely fine. But the people that do want it and are too afraid to do it, they're the people you're talking about. So letting
Yeah.
yourself get stuck.
And so people who like I can articulate how to get to £1 million a year, for example, and I can, I can write down some steps to get to that. And I'm not there, but I've written down and I'm gonna, get there.
Get there, yeah.
And I've used coaches, and that's another thing. So rather than trying to do it ourselves, we're going to be paying for our ignorance. We either time or with money to pay mentors and coaches and stuff like that. So it's like anything. If you're in the gym and you could get injured if you're not using the right technique and stuff like that. So better get a personal trainer to teach you how to do that. So then you're paying down your ignorance rather than in your time, and potentially by getting injured and then being out of the game for a while. You're just tapping into somebody else who's already done that, who's already where you want to be, and that kind of thing. And it also goes like, if you're gonna say, if you've got a job and you want to start a business, don't ask anybody who doesn't have a business, because they're going to say it's too risky.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't get a personal trainer who's not in shape, So
yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing. You want to be careful who you actually, because a lot of learning is done by, especially a lot of learning is done when you're leading by example, isn't it? Rather than, by what you're saying, it's actually watching somebody else, and that's how you build your trust and stuff like that, doesn't it? But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. I think it's 95% mindset, business in general. You've got to kind of people are different, aren't they? Basically, it's not for everybody.
Not for everyone.
Starting a business,
about the world. The world takes all sorts to keep going, right? That's the beauty of existence. That you've got some that will lead, some that will be business owners, some that won't and don't ever want to be. Brilliant. That's fine. And I think what you said is important. Ask and lean on others. And I think at the end of all of that, assess what your gut's telling you. Because not everybody is going to be giving you great advice, even if you think that they know what they're talking about. So ask your 5-10 people, but then go with what your gut's telling you. Don't trust all of your future into somebody else. But
yeah, and it's I think the other thing is what I've started to do is schedule some thinking time into my diary, like every day.
Awesome.
I recently came to a realization, because I was burning out a few times. I don't mind sharing that, in terms of being vulnerable. I was burning out once a year, maybe. I don't know, something like that. I was working too hard, burning out. And then I start to realize that in a day, if I were working too hard, then I were borrowing from tomorrow, which is obvious. It's obvious, isn't it, when you think about it? And I'm thinking, I'm kicking myself. Yeah, if I work too hard today, I'm going to be too tired tomorrow. But it's because, I suppose, when you've got a job, it's compartmentalized. So you are kind of pacing yourself, aren't you? So you go home at 5.
Leave it. Usually, you leave it where it is. Like, you walk out them doors and go home. You are taking that work with you. But you at home, your business is there. It's always there for you. It's always in that little room, Michael. You know, in that there's a job to do, something to do. And if you don't pace yourself, I think men are less likely to schedule time like that for themselves, because it might be perceived as a weakness. I think women, we're not brilliant at it, but I think we're getting better at the self-care. And I think that thinking time is self-care. It's letting your brain slow down. It's giving you, I guess, that time to think what's really important, what needs to happen this week for the business, but what could wait next week, and then I can pace myself. And I think that's really important, because a lot of business owners are men, and I think that men are not, they're not programmed to be that vulnerable, to be like, you know what, I need a time out for me. And I think women, we're not necessarily programmed, but we're a little bit more accepting of it. Like, yeah, I actually do need time out for myself this week, or I'm going to go crazy. So I think that's really important that you do that and keep doing that.
How important is focus then in life in general and business?
Yeah, I think if you don't pick what you're focusing on, you're focusing on everything, and it's really hard, and that burns you out as well. Now, I had a lot of things going on. I suffered a lot with depression with Lauren. Self-diagnosed, never went to the doctor with it, but knew exactly what it was, and I needed a focus to keep my mind active beyond this sadness, because I wanted to create something and I wanted to be able to see something that I'd done with my time that was beyond sitting with the grief of everything that Lauren had been diagnosed with, and how what the future looked like. That was a heavy thing, especially for first time parents as well. So I think picking what I focused on, I think I should have had a business coach back then. I've had one for the last few years, and she's helped me focus a little bit more on those things, but also making time, like you taking time out during the week. I don't know if you do this, but I would section out. Nell will get me to section out what I'm focusing on. Is it my health? Is it me? Am I working out? Is it my children? Some family time? Some fun? Is it with Johnny? And then, tomorrow is that business, and what are you doing with that, and making a plan. And I think business minds focus and choose to focus better than, entrepreneurs. I think it's a skill. I think that you're kind of born with it, and you want to do it. You want to achieve something, so you make yourself focus and do something and do it. But, life gets in the way, Michael, and feelings come around, and sometimes depression comes around, and you can't really do anything about those things. You've got to ride that wave, and if for a time you've got to have a little time out and a focus and a refocus on family where that needs you a little bit more. I think I have that, what's the word I'm looking for? I think I'm afforded that a little bit more than perhaps you would be. I don't know, because I don't know your situation necessarily, but I'm not the breadwinner as such. My money comes in, we use it, but it's not paying my mortgage. Johnny does that, and so I'm afforded it a little bit more, that if I needed to take time out because I'm struggling with something, or the kids are struggling, then I can do that. I think that's more difficult for Johnny to do. He's a director in the business he works in, and I think that's a really difficult thing for him to... He has no time really to focus on that, and it gets the better of you eventually, whether it's in the health, if something's coming up. He suffers with migraines. I'm aware that that's high stress. I don't know how everybody copes with those things, but I think if you can try your very best to section out the week of what you're going to be doing and when you're going to be doing it, giving yourself time, giving yourself a break, giving yourself that freedom a little bit to focus on yourself. Hopefully we find the balance, but who knows who's perfect at that, because it's not me.
Yeah, I'm finding it's Vicky's got a full-time job, so there's not like total pressure, but I suppose I put pressure on myself. The way I do it, the way I've learnt to do it, and I've not always done it this way, it's like daily. I've got to have some daily things, like a miracle morning for a start. So, and I don't always do it, but it's daily gratitude, writing in my journal so I can refer back to it how I feel, planning as well. So I've got a planner, so planning tomorrow, today, blocking out work into deep work. Basically, I can't work I find it difficult to. I've got to work in silence. Basically, I did a bit of photo editing last night with a podcast on. Okay. And then ended up daydreaming and not even listening to the podcast a lot of the time, so just like thoughts in my head and stuff like that. But I'm finding that I've got to do things. This is, the phrase work-life balance. I don't agree with that because I think it's more like an employee thing. So I believe in like integration between life. I think life's for living every day. So I'd probably do this if I were retired. I'd do the same thing. So I don't believe in retirement either. So I'm probably a bit extreme in that kind of way. But I believe in work-life integration. If you think about work-life balance, the phrase, I know why it exists because people clock off at 5 and they don't think about it anymore than they're living, and they've got the downtime. But if you think about it, you've got, let's say, you traditionally split 8 hours work, 8 hours leisure time, then 8 hours sleep. Then I think you're living while you're working anyway. I think it's
Yeah.
all meant to be integrated. Do you want to? I
I
know I
think
said
when
last
you
question,
work
but
for yourself, I think you're right, and I think the difference is because you work for yourself and you love what you do. I think loving what you do is key to all of this. You would want to keep doing it and working. You might not want to do it at the pace you're doing it right now, but it's not like you'll hit 67 and go, right, I'm done. Because you'll have clients that you've built up, you've got work that you love, your day-to-day things include those things that you love. And I can't imagine, I don't think I'll retire. I think retirement's a work thing, 9-5 job thing as well. And I think it's brilliant if that's what you're working towards, you love your 9-5 job, that's what you want, brilliant. If that is life that you love, I couldn't do a 9-5 and just have the weekends. I find that did not work for me. I did it once. After that, I was like, I'm done. I liked shift work a bit better, but I still didn't really love that. I loved working for myself. I figured that out very young. I liked answering to nobody else and myself only. And that's not always a great thing. But I think if you create and you keep creating, why would you stop? I mean, you look at some of the actors, for instance, not that I put them on pedestals because I don't, most are numpties. But they're going on until in the 80s, 90s, there's the roles that these old people are taking. It's because they love what they do. So just keep doing what you love doing. It doesn't need to have this title, work. Just keep doing what you love. And build a life that you love.
yeah, it's lifestyle design,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It is stressful, and I think you touched on how do you deal with stress. It's like how do people deal with stress? I mean, I've got to say, guided meditation has helped with that. So that's like,
Absolutely. Being still, getting your mind still. I fully believe in all of that. I think what my business can add to that is an essential oil that vibrationally can help decrease the stress levels in your body. And it's nice to add something else in. So when I went a year or so ago to some guided meditation, I would take my oils and I would get in the mindset just before I was going in. Then I would take them during it, just deep breathing. And I always felt extremely calm when I came out. And if you look at energies like you were saying, and how, I think it's cancer cells are like stress and things, they're so very low, so close to death. There's the vibrational frequency of those cells. And then you look at some things that the earth has given us, and the vibrational frequency of some of these oils is insane. It's only going to do your body good. Meditation, whether that comes in religious form of praying or your meditation or like yoga practice or things like that, all been proven to have an effect on the mind, not just the body. And I think if you can help decrease that stress, whether you're working or working for yourself, it doesn't matter. And that the lovely thing is about doing doTERRA particularly is no matter what this conversation would have been, oils can fit into something for someone else. It's like if you're looking and you're open, it might not be that you're looking for stress, but if you're looking for something, if you're running, or you want to do a yoga practice, or you just want to wake up and feel good straight away in the morning, or you want something for your teenagers to make them feel a bit happier because they're terrible right now. I think it's nice just to have things to help other people. And I think from speaking to you, and one of the things that impressed me right at the very beginning, I think I told you, was you start off with a product and you tell us in the networking group what you do in that 60 seconds, but then when you start talking to people, you give a bit of advice on this or a bit of advice on that, and you can't help yourself because you've got all this good stuff that you know, right? And you want to help people and share that. And I think that's a good quality of a business person, because you don't always do it to gain something back, it's to help the other people. So I resonated with that. So yeah.
That's the abundance mindset, because, and I wasn't always like that when I first started the business 16 years ago, back in 2009. I was very closed off, especially with other like competitors, but now I just like share everything. Competitor last year said, "Which camera do you use?" I said, "Oh, use this, this, and this." He bought the cameras. He might be doing that now, but it doesn't matter. He was using cameras beforehand, but it doesn't matter. A lot of us think that somebody will be able to steal our secrets and then do better than us, but we've already got an head start, or they're not going to be able to do it
right?
the same way. It's all limiting beliefs. It's all scarcity mindset.
Absolutely. I feel like there's enough business in the world, no matter what business you're in. I say that, I might be corrected by a million people, but I think there's an abundance of business and people that you can help and share your things with. There's enough to go around. I don't want to compete. I mean, I do at the 100 meters. I want to win, but beyond running, I don't want to compete.
There's not that many. The way that I see business in general is, it's like with web design. There's a lot of web designers, and if you ask, if you've got a job, like anybody listening to this who's got a job and they've got a real passion for the most saturated thing in digital marketing, which is probably web design or logo design. Like logo design, it's one of those things where you've got AI which can create a logo and do a brand now, and it's almost like cut out the logo designer, but the big brands will still pay like 200 grand or whatever, or even more than that, for a logo, because there's that responsibility that comes with it, because the logo goes with so many things. It goes on the side of the van, the big sign at an event, on a video, and stuff like that. So the main takeaway would be, if you ask somebody, if you've got a 915 job and you are thinking a bit about becoming a web designer or a logo designer, they are really saturated. Somebody's going to say it's been done before, or there's no point in doing it, there's too much competition, it'll be a price war, race to the bottom. I always visualize this triangle where at the top there's an apex, or if you become really, really good at strategy and then talking about different fonts, because when you break down something like logo design, for example, you've got so many different components that make it up, like the fonts, the color theory, how different colors make people think, and all that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is, put your 10,000 hours in, become really good at what you do, and then all the kind of people who've just started out and they're saying they're a logo designer, or they're saying whatever, they'll be all at the bottom, sort of scrambling, or bottom feeders scrambling for the scraps, in the price war, race to the bottom. But at the top apex, they'll be like the elite, and you only get that with experience and time, and good communication skills, and good business sense as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just an abundance mindset, basically, that there's that much knowledge, and most people won't implement. I mean, most people in the classroom, they'll only take in 15% of what they're learning. That's why you have that bank of videos for them to watch that you send them a link to after the lesson or whatever. People don't take it in, and once it's resonated, once they've internalized it, they'll have some questions to come back to as well. So a lot of people said to me, "Oh, say if I say, oh, why don't you bottle your knowledge and do a course or something like that?" Like I'm doing with videography and marketing, for example. They'll say, "Well, it's already been done." That's a limiting belief, because it's your personality that you're putting into it. There's only one you, and everybody's got a certain way of explaining things, and so yeah, that's the way I see things anyway. There's actually the only competition we've got is the competition with ourselves and our limiting beliefs and our scarcity mindset.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's just constant reprogramming for me, so I don't return to that baseline, which is between being born and 9 years old. But there's all these kind of, money doesn't grow on trees. is one of the things that I were taught. But there's loads of money out there. You just need to meet more people, and then find people who have got problems to solve, and then they can.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they'll send you. They'll come to you if you get good enough. If you get good enough, you won't have any competition. You'll just be one of the best.
Agreed.
Or the best.
Definitely.
Yeah. Right. April, it's been great. Where can people find you?
The best place is on Instagram at April Rose Birch. Very simple. And I am also on LinkedIn, but I don't go on it very often. You can find me on LinkedIn, I just don't know if I'll respond. But yeah, go onto Instagram, and then my shop and everything's linked. But I don't send people to the shop ever, Michael. And you know why? Because you can buy an oil and it will sit in your house and you'll never use it, or you can come to me and let me teach you how to use them first, and then you can decide, are you going to act? And if you're going to act, then that's when you get the oils. So yeah, over on Instagram. So thank you for having me.
Brilliant. It's been a pleasure. And see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Thank you.